This week we are starting on the second half of our nutrition textbook called Establishing Nutrition Programs. The first chapter is Chapter 6, titled Market and Menu Assessment. In this chapter, we will learn about the importance of nutrition trends, analyze the target market for a nutrition program, and use competitive analysis to determine how the competition addresses the target market. We will find out what SWOT is and how it is used to determine a target market, and we will also examine menu items using nutritional analysis of standardized recipes. In the previous chapters, we've already talked some about the different nutrition trends, and it shouldn't really be any surprise that according to the dietary guidelines, the overall environment in the U.S. provides conditions that will lead to obesity. The dietary recommendations include increasing the nutrient-dense food and decreasing calories, sodium, added sugars, solid fats for Americans age 2 or older. The sodium recommendations are a lot more difficult to adhere to when eating out. When we go out to eat and we look at a menu, it's a lot easier to pick out the higher fat items, the higher sugar items, and to skip those. But it's a lot more difficult to pick out the reduced sodium ones without the help of the chefs in the back of the kitchen that are preparing those foods. The need for improved and expanded menu options will continue to grow not only from people choosing to eat healthier, but from the number of people being diagnosed with food allergies increasing. Individuals with food allergies want to be able to eat out and have options and the assurance that their food will be properly prepared. When developing a nutrition program for the menu, a food service operation needs to assess the target market of specific groups they are looking to serve. A restaurant or food service provider won't likely be able to satisfy every single need, so managers need to identify the target markets they would like to serve. Having this information will allow them to design specific nutrition programs for their establishment. When thinking about a target market, an establishment narrows the field of potential customers to a field of customers to target. To do this, they first identify all of the potential customers in an area, so those that might have an interest in the operation's products and services. Then identify the potential customers that are financially able to purchase the products and services. That can be a big determining factor right there. Customers might be really interested in the product, but if the business is in an area where the product wouldn't be affordable, it's just not going to work out. Lastly, the recognizable characteristics of the targeted customers need to be identified. So what types of foods that people in the market are most likely to consume, and would the establishment's products fit into that? Demographics and psychographics will play a part within an establishment's target market. Management need to understand the various population trends regarding age as well as needs of different age groups. In many cases, psychographic characteristic traits like a customer's personality, values, attitudes, and interests are more important than demographics. Psychographics describe the human characteristics of customers and can be important in developing a nutrition program. Establishing nutrition programs where the psychographic segment is small may lead to the program not being successful. After a target market for the nutrition program has been determined, an assessment for the establishment should be completed. This assessment might involve analyzing the economic conditions, labor changes, and current culinary trends that might make an impact. It will also take a look at the competition. A second assessment will look at the strengths and weaknesses of the establishment, the employee skill level, food sales, and cost information. A competitive analysis is a formal or informal process of assessing competitors in a geographic area or industry segment. The analysis will look at the products and services offered and what kind of relationship they have with the target market. A manager would want to examine the specific menu items that are offered, the price of the service and service style, and the atmosphere of the competition's establishment. When done correctly, food service professionals will be able to establish themselves within the target market. Next, a manager wants to refocus back on their own position in the market by looking at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, or they'll do a SWOT analysis. When looking at the strengths as it relates to a nutrition plan, the manager needs to look at what areas the business is already excelling in. For example, a diverse menu, trained staff, and quality foods. Weaknesses are looked at as things that can be eliminated or turned into strengths. For example, a menu with a lot of high-fat entrees, few allergy-sensitive items, or a poorly trained staff. With opportunities, a manager looks at for realistic areas to increase revenue or decrease costs. One way to determine opportunities is to look at the strengths for a way to build on them and look at weaknesses to see if eliminating can create opportunities. Lastly, we have threats. Threats can come from various places, like increased competition, demographics changing, a cost of ingredients increasing. It is important to identify possible threats so that they can be addressed or controlled before they do damage. So let's take a look at the situational analysis that our textbook gives us. Here we have Clay's Country Kitchen, a small family-style restaurant owned by Gabriel and managed by Elias. Gabriel and Elias would like to continue with the successful menu items, but capitalize on health trends to increase sales and profitability. Elias is asked to perform a SWOT analysis. Our textbook points out something important. When doing an analysis, you want to remain objective. Elias might have his own opinions and things he'd like to see happen, but he needs to record and analyze the facts to get an actual accurate assessment. So this chart here lists the results of the analysis, and we'll break these down in depth in just a minute. This chart here lists the important questions to ask about the results of the SWOT analysis. So going back to the analysis results, the first strength identified is the amount of menu offerings the restaurant has. The large amount gives the ability to adjust and improve, and also the ability to have flexibility. The expanded menu might appeal to a broader audience. The second strength is the food cost to sales price. Special ingredients might have a higher cost, so menu items using these ingredients might have to be priced to reflect this. The third strength is a good customer base. According to customer survey data, business has grown through word of mouth. With the adequate sales and profitability that the business has, Elias feels comfortable making some changes to the menu. He also has survey history of what customers have demanded in the past and what changes they have responded to, both positively and negatively. And the fourth strength, the restaurant has low employee turnover rate. They have a stable workforce, positive employee morale, so changing the menu and retraining will be easier. The first weakness identified came from comment cards. Many customers were disappointed with the lack of healthy menu options for kids. Guests noted that the dishes supported vegan selections, but there were no entrees that did the same. Another weakness that Elias noticed were that some menu items did not match standardized recipe descriptions, so there was a need to retrain on these recipes. A third weakness was regarding food cost. The reason that the restaurant had lower food costs was because they received vendor discounts from volume and predictability of orders. New menu items might require different vendors and a higher per unit pricing for smaller purchases. And the last weakness Elias discovered was that the healthier menu options might require equipment that the kitchen does not currently have. A healthier menu will likely require more prep space and alternative cooking equipment, increased upfront costs. The benefits would be seen more in the long term. Elias did find some opportunities. The current supplier is offering an incentive to those who order its new fresh and organic line of food. If these new food items are ordered now, they would be at a reduced price. The food vendor will not need to be changed, and there will be no added food deliveries a week. Elias has been wanting to add more whole grains and gluten-free items to the menu. A headline in a trade magazine reinforces his view that both of these products are a growing part of consumer products industry. The culinary school data shows that the new curriculum will provide a source of potential new employees who have the needed skills to assist in the development of the new nutrition program. There's a possibility of capturing more market share from the new condominium complex. And lastly, the restaurant will be able to post nutrition information on the menu from a new POS system. This will help maintain a competitive advantage. With the opportunities, there are some threats. The first is competition. There is a nearby restaurant with a similar menu and a gourmet supermarket that offers catering and meals to go. Knowing the competition helps the restaurant establish a plan of action. Second, the city has a plan to increase sales tax. However, with the changes to the menu, the restaurant is able to adjust the selling prices and not have to make price adjustments later on. Now that the analysis has been completed and data reviewed, goals and a nutrition plan can be set up. Elias is first going to need to weigh the cost and benefit considerations of putting the plan in place. He isn't sure about the number of new customers that will be attracted by the nutrition plan, but thinks the traffic from the new housing development and the families brought in during slow periods will offset costs. Elias has decided to put the nutrition plan in place and to revise and update the menu. The goals for the program are to improve nutritional aspects so that the low-calorie, low-sodium options comprise at least 25% of the menu, to raise customer satisfaction to 93%, to eliminate incidents of food allergies, and to increase overall sales for the establishment by 10% over 3 months. The first step to put the plan in place is to conduct a nutrition analysis of existing recipes, determining the nutritional content or composition of food. Some items may need to be replaced, and some may need to be slightly modified. Elias will also need to review and modify cooking and prep methods, implement a food allergy program, train staff, put a marketing program in place, and evaluate and modify the nutrition plan as needed. Conducting a nutrition analysis can be common in our industry. Some establishments may be required by various local, state, or federal laws to provide nutritional information, but even when not legally required, some operations might still choose to include the nutrition information for customers either due to demand or because they feel it keeps them competitive. A nutrition analysis should include at minimum the total number of calories, calories from fat, total carbohydrates, sugars, protein, total fat including saturated fat, trans fatty acids, and cholesterol, sodium, dietary fiber, vitamins, and minerals. There are two basic ways to determine the nutrient composition: laboratory analysis or calculation. A laboratory analysis is done on samples that are prepared using standardized recipes. Then they are properly packaged following the directions given by each laboratory and sent directly to the company doing the analysis. The lab incinerates the food sample and uses chemical extraction and lab equipment to find the nutrient composition and content. Nutrition analysis by calculation is based on previous lab analysis of many different food samples. The analyses are stored in a database and used to approximate the nutrition content or composition used in an operations recipes. Recipes for menu items are entered into the database, and nutrition analysis for the recipes can be generated. Standardized recipes in a food service operation are important for a few reasons. Customers have certain expectations. They tend to return for their favorite dishes and they expect them to be the same. In order to have an accurate nutrition analysis, an establishment needs standardized recipes. This will provide the same portioning, ingredients, and nutrients every time. Another benefit is that waste and food costs will be reduced. The recipe is specific to the ingredients, equipment, and personnel in an operation. Here's an example of a standardized recipe. It gives all the information needed: the equipment, the yield, procedure, ingredients, and the nutrition analysis. So going back to Clay's Country Kitchen, Elias receives the results of the nutrition analysis from his consultant, and he realizes that some items have high amounts of calories, fat, saturated fat, cholesterol, and sodium. So his next step is determining what menu items will be revised or replaced by comparing the nutritional analysis against the goals of his nutrition plan, and then developing standardized recipes for the new items. He also will need to look at the ingredients and prep process for items he plans to keep but need to be revised. Thank you for listening to the Chapter 6 lecture. Please review the summary slides 16 through 26. After reading Chapter 6, please complete the Chapter 6 quiz and have a great week.